As everyone knows, there are two kinds of music. There's music that's fun to listen to, and there's music that's good for you. We have been receiving a lot of criticism in the press for playing too much pretty music. And so in order to rectify this situation, I have written a piece. This piece is it's very difficult to understand. It's extremely esoteric and obscure and highly avant-garde. And it's my hope that everyone will leave the theater unable to sing any of the melodies. It's called The Monster That Devoured Cleveland. Now, I think a little background information will help to make the piece even more difficult to understand, so I'll try and tell you a little bit about it. First of all, I think most of you will remember a show called The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis that was popular during the 50s. One of the secondary characters in that show was a beatnik, Maynard G. Krebs. Maynard was played by Bob Denver, who went on to fame as Gilligan in Gilligan's Island a little later on. However, that's not germane to today's discussion. Maynard would do anything to avoid doing work. And one of his chief pastimes, in order to avoid work, was to go to the movies. And in general, the movie that Maynard was always going off to see in this series was called The Monster That Devoured Cleveland. So I've taken this title as the inspiration for my piece. The movie is never seen in the series, so I've had to devise a sort of scenario. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, as much as I know anyway. The piece and the movie, the imaginary film, begins in the swampy morass just inside the Cleveland city limits. We hear the burbling and bubbling of the swampy morass, and then the monster rises from the swamp and gives various frightening calls. And as all contemporary composers do these days, I wrote my piece by going to the members of the group and saying, well, what sort of weird sounds can you make? And then I put them in the piece exactly in the order that they told me about them. With no regard for their relationship to the form of the piece or anything else. All right, after the monster makes his appearance, then we cut away to another scene in the chambers of the City Council of the City of Cleveland. At the City Council meeting, the members are discussing what to do about the threat from the monster. The mayor rises and gives a rather impassioned speech suggesting that everyone in Cleveland should go out and dump salt on the tail of the monster. One of the aldermen rises and takes issue with the mayor, and soon there's a big fight with all the city council members arguing with each other and a resolution nowhere in sight. All of a sudden, the monster himself appears in the city council chambers and addresses the assembled city council. Now, it's at this point that my conception of the piece sort of breaks down. And all I can tell you is that I don't know what happens after this point. It's a sort of existential, ambiguous ending, as you find in most contemporary fiction. So you'll have to decide whether it's a happy ending or a sad one. The piece will be conducted by the composer. They say that audiences can be cruel. And I don't think you have any idea how bad it makes a composer feel to be understood.